How about at Adobe? What are you seeing?
I think we're hyper-focused on the ability to enable creators to create great experiences, and that can take the form of many different ways. But if you look at some of the trending topics here at Cannes this week, it's complex, right? You've got multiple touch point, very complex customer journeys, and so how can you kind of orchestrate that into these great, powerful, profound experiences is quite a challenge. One of the big I think focal points is addressing content velocity, which is really being driven out of the need for personalization, and even beyond that, individualization. And imagine that in the health space as well.
So that's actually something that's really relevant, because we, just in the talk I had earlier, I was talking about how we've done a lot of primary research towards what's the right frequency to be chatting with somebody. And
what is it?
Well, it's exactly what you said, personalization, because even though we know there's some extremes of you don't want to be spamming somebody 100 times a day and you also don't want to not message them ever, even if you are to break that down a little bit more, we did a study about how often people want to be engaged with a chatbot, and 33% said once a day, 32% said once or a couple times a week, and then 34% once in a while. So it really just goes to show that personalization, I think, is one of
personal.
It's personal. It's the way that you can truly engage with somebody in a meaningful way.
I think it's fascinating when AI is involved, because it can start to learn over time personal preferences for personalization.
And on top of that, really be able to relate to who you are and understand, are you more clinical, are you more emotional, and what kind of information is relevant for you. And even this morning, actually, at the GSK talk, that was something that I thought he really hit on well, because it was the movement between not only brand loyalty, but really a trusted brand, one that understands you as a patient, that you're not just the condition, you're not just whatever medication you're on, but in fact you're a father, or you're a physician, or really being able to see what your context is as a person and what's meaningful for you.
We tend to focus so much on physical health, but there's also the mental health aspect, and I think to your point about kind of empathetic technology can start to address some of those challenges in those kind of sectors within the mental health category. It could be pretty exciting as well.
Absolutely. And so do you think then that there's, almost creative stimuli that you can leverage?
Absolutely. This morning we showcased a piece by Braun. We partnered with an agency, and it kind of analyzed the historical design patterns for that Braun created, and it created a design language. And so now when a content creator or a product designer started to design, the system would kind of predict and suggest different shapes and different elements to stay within their design language. And it got me thinking about how that could be applied for health. Could be really interesting in terms of analyzing one's health patterns, kind of eating patterns, sleep patterns, kind of all the biometrics. A few years ago we were very excited about kind of the wearables and the kind of the quantified self, and I think now with AI that's really going to kind of answer and live up to some of those expectations. Well,
I think also on top of that, to your point, we've collected a lot of data, particularly in recent years, and I think AI is really that opportunity to use that data in a meaningful way for not only companies, but actually for people themselves to be able to drive insights from their own healthcare data with all of these wearables.
We were chatting about earlier how one of the great benefits of a place like Cannes Lions is you get all of these multiple inputs from different sectors, different industries, and we were chatting about how F1 racing is really utilizing artificial intelligence almost in real time, and I think we can kind of take some of those learnings in the health world in terms of how someone is performing and almost create a virtual self and to kind of analyze their ability and how they're performing.
That's really interesting.